Did you know there are many killifish varieties in the world? And one of the most interesting killifish variety is the annual killifish. There are more varieties of annual killifish also. All of them are very colorful varieties. It is very tricky to hatch annual killifish eggs with a good hatching rate. It depends on several things. Following this video, you will get master knowledge about the proper way of hatching annual killifish eggs with the best hatching rate. Here we will talk about making a tank setup for hatching annual killifish eggs. The best water parameters for a good hatching rate, feeding, making a growing tank for them, and sizing fry for a better survival rate. Try to understand each step and try it. At first, we will roll into our intro. In this video, as we promised, we will talk about the successful hatching method of East African annual killifish. As a demonstration, we will use Nothobranchius eggersii red killifish eggs. You can see this small, well-packed bag has been labeled with the fish species name and the number of eggs that contain it. Here you can see they mentioned 50 eggs. That means this pack contains at least 50 viable eggs. Most of the time, it will be more than 50 viable eggs as I experienced up to now. Eggs are mixed with peat moss. Peat moss maintains the adequate moisture of the packet. This packet does not mention about collected date and hatching date. That means these eggs are ready to hatch at the moment. I'll show you one of my other packages, which mentions about collection date and hatching date. With these packages, we should hatch them according to the hatching date. Otherwise, the eggs are not mature. They mention the minimum number of days that eggs take to mature the embryo since the collection date. It will differ with the variety of killifish. These eggs should be kept under good humidity. Peat moss will do the job correctly. First, you should prepare 2 sets of tanks with well-seasoned water. I show you here I use 2 small glass cube tanks. At least these tanks should be 1 to 3 liters in capacity. For seasoning the water, I use Indian almond leaves. Here I use some old Indian almond leaves which are already 2 days old in another tank. Then it will release substances into the water very slowly. Take enough water from well-seasoned old tank. I took 2 liters of water from my main planted aquarium. We should prepare 1 tank for hatching purposes and another for further use for raising fry or as an extra source of seasoned water. Then put 1 liter of water in 1 tank and add 2 small Indian almond leaves for the seasoning process. It always gives tannin to the water and also has some antibacterial effect. After 2 days of seasoning both tanks in the same way, check the pH. It should be around 6.5, and in my setup, it is 6.7. In my hatching tank temperature is 27 Celsius. With my hatching rate of killifish eggs, I think it may be not a bad temperature for hatching purposes. Always try to put some aeration to all setups. Now you can see in color water in both setups. Please note that you should use already 2 or 3 days of seasoned Indian almond leaves for this method. If you put leaves as first time, it will release a huge amount of tannins for the next 2 days. Thus, we use leaves that are already in water for 2 to 3 days. Then it releases a very small amount of substances into the water for the next 2 days. Now your tank is ready for hatching amazing killifish eggs. Carefully open the egg packet and put the peat moss into a small container. I use a transparent container here. You can see some eggs with matured embryos inside them. Clearly can identify their eyes inside the egg, but no viable movements at the time when I inspect. Now you can put the peat moss in the hatching tank. Keep in mind to do it very carefully. If you drop any peat moss part out of the tank, carefully collect it and put it into the same tank. No small part of peat moss was left in the container of the packet. Due to the high density of eggs, all eggs will sink to the bottom of the tank. I mixed the peat moss after putting it into the tank. These killifish are more prone to getting parasite infections. Therefore, keep in mind you should add aquarium salt to the hatching tank and thriving tank 1 to 2 grams per liter. Here, I used 1 gram of aquarium salt for the 1 liter of water and mixed well. For education purposes, I collect some eggs from a manual sucker and put them in a place for further filming of the steps of hatching. This thing is only done for education purposes. Following 15 minutes, you can see some movements inside the egg. They are moving inside the egg, which means they are ready to hatch within the next 1 or 2 hours. These footage are very interesting and rare. You will never see them before. Following 1 hour, we can see some hatched eggs and small fry moving here and there. Now you can see how they are hatching. Those are rare moments that I captured for you. All these setups have been specially designed to capture all steps of the killifish egg hatching process. Following 1 hour, you can see much more fry hatched and came to surface. They are free swimmers now. After 2 hours, I took all free swim fry out of the hatching tank. There are 40 healthy free swim fry. I coughed them with a bucket-shaped spoon. You can use a large hole sucker also. When we are sucking with negative pressure, they will come into the sucker tube. With newly hatched fry, it may be some stress to them. Therefore, I recommend using a bucket-shaped spoon for it. It will not be easy, but it will save more than sucker. You can see a close-up video of a fry in the spoon. They are healthy and active fry. Then I put all of them into a target feeding tank. This also should be done very slowly. All the time, our target should be to handle the fry with minimal stress for them. This tank has a good sponge filter. I usually raise 2 or 3 species of fry in the same tank to maintain the biochemical balance of a tank. Here I use a small breeder box for my killifish fry. There are Galaxy Rasbora fry outside the breeding box. 4 hours later, I caught another 20 fry. Now the total count is 60. The next day, I caught another 4 fries. Thereafter, I kept peat moss for another 2 days, but there is no other fry. Now my total number of killifish fry was 64. 2 hours later, all free swimmers are seeking food on the surface of the water column. You can see with this video. They are very active. Since 3rd hour of free swim, I started to feed them on live brine shrimps. They are picky eaters. You can see they are eating live brine shrimps well. Make sure many plants are there in a thriving tank of killifish, and the tank should be in a dark place with dim light. Direct light will cause stress on the fry, and ultimate death will occur within days. I put my fry thriving tank under the shade of my L46 Zebra Pleco tank. Dim light from the Zebra Pleco tank gave the perfect environment for killifish fry. I continued the live brine shrimp, feeding them twice per day. Daily observations revealed that their growth rate is much faster with live brine shrimp. I show you their growth day by day. This shows day 2 of fry. Day 3 and 4, they got significant size. On day 7, some of them reached half a centimeter in size. On day 7, you should remove the large fry to another tank. After day 7 of hatching, I use live brine shrimp and decapsulated brine shrimps as a mixed diet. On day 10, you can see some of them are nearly 1 centimeter in size. On day 10, also you should remove the large fry from the tank, otherwise large fry feeds on other small fry. Then your fry count will be very low at the end of 20 days. All large fry left in the tank behave as dominant fry and feed on all other small fries. Very aggressive behavior is noted from large fry. Therefore, sizing them on day 7 and day 10 and put into a much larger growing tank will increase the number of fry that get serve-you after 20 days. In my first killifish hatching, the serve-you rate is 26 out of 60. Thereafter, with the sizing method on day 7 and 10, surviving rate increased. Now only less than 10 to 15 fry disappear from one hatching session. All others grow up with a good growth rate. All are healthy, and no diseases are noted throughout the whole hatching to thrive process. This is the whole story behind the annual killifish hatching process. The take-home message is to get a piece of good knowledge about annual killifish, then go for the killifish egg hatching processes and sizing of fry on day 7 and day 10 for an increased survival rate. Thank you for joining Serendib Aquatics. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to comment below. I'll try to reply to all comments. You can share your knowledge with others about the annual killifish egg hatching process by putting a comment too. Put your killifish photos with the name of the fish variety as a comment, then we all can see your amazing killifish varieties. Serendib Aquatics will see you in our next fish breeding video as soon as possible. Hang on with Serendib Aquatics. If you think this will help you with your aquarium journey, please be kind enough to subscribe Serendib Aquatic YouTube channel for new updates.